friends, Assalamu alaikum, welcome back to my channel. Apologies, it's been a wee while since I've posted any videos. I've had some of my friends asking me. I used to post daily, now I'm doing about 2 cooking videos a week. I've got loads stored up and I just haven't had the chance to edit, so I'm trying to get on that now. So current status in the UK is we are on lockdown. We can't leave our homes, so I wanted to put together a couple of recipes that are not too complicated, and most people have these kind of ingredients in their house, so it's not like you have to go and get really difficult ingredients. So the first thing I made was Chana Pilau, so chickpea rice, and just to avoid using meat all the time as well, and just to cut back on that because some things are becoming difficult to buy now due to the coronavirus and lockdowns, and it's really difficult to go out, so we're just trying to live on basic food and what we have already in our freezer. Thankfully, before the coronavirus we actually did a big meat shop and we froze everything, so we got some lamb and some chickens, so we're, instead of having meat daily now, we're having it maybe twice, 2 or 3 times a week, just so we're budgeting. So ingredients like this should be able to help you. So I'll get on and I'll show you this recipe. So basically I got 2 large onions, chopped them up into small pieces and fried them in about 3 to 4 tablespoons of oil, and I've added in some garlic and ginger grated and 1 whole green chilli which I had in the freezer, and I got 1 small tomato, added that in as well. So I'm just cooking that on a low heat, frying it off until it's fragrant, and then gradually adding in all the spices. You can add in whatever you like, and I just like to show you what I typically use for my simple pilau. You might have seen, if you're a subscriber on my channel, if you're not, hit that subscribe button, I know you want to. You might have seen I've made Yachni Pilau, which is like a stock broth rice, and it's rice that my mum always makes, and I never really enjoyed it until I actually started making it like that myself. Basically it's, you're boiling the meat and onions, and you're adding in like cloves and black pepper and garlic and ginger and chilies and whatever else you like, and then that, all the flavour of the meat goes into the water, but then you're putting it back into the rice. So that's how I typically cook rice. I don't often cook vegetarian rice, but in this instance and in this situation that we're in, we're having to be really careful with the kind of food that we cook. So sorry, I've digressed. At this stage, when the onions were translucent and I've added in the onions, garlic, ginger, chilli, green chilli, or as much chilli as you want, I've added in coriander powder, cumin seeds, salt, pepper. Now we're adding in the magical chickpeas. I'm adding them in at this stage, so it's just 1 whole tin of chickpeas. If you want to use fresh you can, but I like these, are softer and they're less hassle, and you can buy these from supermarkets. I buy these from Aldi's. I just keep a batch of them, and you can make falafels and chickpea burgers. They're really versatile and so tasty, really high in like carbs and protein, so it's really good for you. And so I've put the chickpeas in at this stage because I like the chickpeas to take on the flavour and the spices that I've added. Right at the start of cooking, guys, I soaked 1 big mug of rice, this big mug here, and when you're putting in water, you have to have water equal to that same mug or dish that you use to measure the rice. So you see I'm adding in 2 cups of water. It could be hot. I think hot is ideal. and I've also added in a vegetarian stock cube. Now you need to give your rice about 20-30 minutes in soaked water, so you need to soak the rice, rinse it through a few times to make sure you get rid of all the starch. Normally, my mum would normally wait for this stock to boil, but if I'm in a rush and I've maybe not given enough time for the rice to soak, I'll add it in at this stage and then bring it to the boil. So it's as simple as that. It's called the absorption method, and whatever container you use to measure the rice, you put that in the same level of that container in of water. So for 1 mug of rice, 2 cups of water, or 2 mugs, sorry, I should say. So once we add the rice in, we're going to bring that to the boil, and we're just going to put the lid on and bring it to the boil. It shouldn't take long, it won't even take 10 minutes to bring it to the boil. And I'm not going to touch it until there's a full boil and you can see the water starting to reduce and you can see the top almost of the rice. So we don't want all the water to disappear, we just want it to bring itself to a really good boil, and you can start to see some of the rice as the water's absorbing into the rice. So whatever stock or spices you add in to the onions, this is what's going to flavour the rice. And I know for people that are really avid meat eaters, this is another option that I'm trying to show you. And chickpeas and things that are in your cupboard, or potatoes, or frozen veg, that can kind of go in the rice as well, whatever you have. And it's a great way to have something filling and healthy and something you can eat the next day as well. Now you can see the rice, you can see what I mean now when I say that the rice is reduced, the water's reduced, sorry, and you can see the rice kind of coming to the surface. At this stage, this is when we use a dry towel in the lid, and I'll show you what that means. So you're basically going to wrap a dry towel in the lid, and that will absorb any excess water, moisture, and the rest of the moisture will go into the rice, and it'll make really fluffy, tasty rice. At this stage is when you test the spice. If you need to add anything in here, I've added in a bit more salt, pepper, a bit more coriander powder, and cumin powder. I wanted it to be really tasty because it is vegetarian. I wanted it to be tasty and filling. Now you prepare the lid with the towel in it, and that goes on top, and you press it in really firmly, and you move the gas over to a really low gas, and you cook that for 10 minutes. And after 10 minutes, this is what you're left with. So you have to trust in the process, keep the lid on, don't be tempted to open it up and give it a mix. You need to leave it, keep it on a very low heat, and if you've measured it correctly, you should have this as the end result. It's really versatile. I mean, if you wanted to grill some chicken and have it with this, that would be fine, or salmon, or if you're trying to avoid meat like I was this week, the chickpea was enough. My son loves chicken pilau, and at the moment with the shortages and the price hikes, we're just trying to be a bit more frugal and a bit more sensible with our money, just to make what we have stretch a bit further. So it's good to get other protein, vitamins, goodness from other things that you might not normally have, i.e. chickpeas. And look at it, lovely roasting hot. I was just filling up a little plate for my son. And this is me making a wee plate up for myself, and I served this with a peri chutney. So I have a peri sauce that I always make. It's on my channel, I'll link it down below. I mix a little bit of that with the yogurt, coriander, spices, just for a really spicy yogurt, because I don't like to make the rice too spicy, so that my son and my daughter can easily eat it. And this is the sauce that I used. If you like the look of this, let me know and I'll put the recipe together. It's just something that I'm quite an inventive cook. It's just something that I put together at the last minute because I thought the two things would go quite nicely together. And I just topped that with some parsley. That's not essential. I just like that you eat with your eyes as well, so things need to look really nice and appetizing. So also on this day I made a Victoria sponge, really simple. All I'm doing here is softening the butter, and then I gradually add in the sugar, and then I try and get this well combined. The mistake that I made, I really should have softened it. Being impatient as I am, I didn't, but it still worked. I just kind of used this electric whisk for a wee while just to soften it all. This is me adding in a drop of milk just to try and get the mixture to combine, and also because I've added it in when the butter was a bit hard. Then I added in 4 eggs, one at a time. Now you can add all the ingredients in at once and mix it really well with an electric whisk. And here I'm adding in 200 grams of plain flour and 2 tablespoons of baking powder and some vanilla essence. And I mixed it really well. You can also use self-raising flour. I didn't have this, and this being a store cupboard recipe, I used an alternative made the best of what I had. So I greased and lined 2 small sandwich tins, and I put the batter in each. It's really important to tap the air out of the tin so that the cake bakes evenly, and you can see that I split the mixture into the 2 tins, and I baked this in the centre of the oven for about 20 minutes, and they were baked beautifully after that. So while they were cooling on a cooling rack just next to the window, I made the buttercream. Now you can whip icing sugar and double cream. I obviously didn't have that, and this being a store cupboard recipe during coronavirus quarantine, make the best of what you have. So I used about 200 grams of butter softened, and I used about 200 grams of icing sugar and vanilla essence. I'll leave all the ingredients and amounts in the recipe description box below. So I just mixed that really well until it was a smooth, well combined consistency, and it was so delicious in the cake. I'd really recommend it. It looks a lot fancier than it is, and in the initial recipe that I used, when you're making the batter, you can put everything into the whisk and let it do its thing, and I just wanted to do it one thing at a time to make sure it all incorporated. So you can see here I'm trying it to make sure it's the right sweetness, and if you need to add any more sugar in or vanilla essence, you can definitely do that. So just mix that until it's really smooth. When the buttercream is done, it can just wait on the side until the cakes are totally cooled. Now I put this cake into I put it into this pasta bowl because it was the perfect size, and I was taking it to drop off and give it to my mum and like my sister-in-law and the nieces and nephews and brother and dad. So I wanted to give them a nice portion and for it to be really nice and presentable. So the smooth side was facing up and the kind of curved side was at the bottom, and this just gives you a nice even layer for the buttercream. And I put all of that on here. It's simple as that. You can pipe it, but I think sometimes you just need to keep things as simple as possible without overcomplicating it. So I added everything, all the buttercream on into the middle, and not too close to the edges, just try and keep it into the centre. And optional, I sliced strawberries and I placed them around like this, so when you put the top of the cake on, it looks really nice and colourful. It adds another layer of sweetness. And I'm a firm believer in things looking nice, so you eat with your eyes as well, as they say, and I totally agree with that. So I added the top of the cake on, and again the smooth side at the top and the kind of curved side at the bottom, and just press it slightly. And optional, you can dust it with some icing sugar. That just makes it look just perfect, like a store-bought cake. So this was the end result, guys. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Does it look like a nice cake? It's a really nice idea. I always think if you go to someone's house and you make something yourself, it shows a lot of effort and thought, and everyone has a wee cup of tea and enjoys what you've made. My family really loved it, and I would definitely make it again. So this is the first time I've made a cake in quite a long time. Really simple, really recommend it. And this is the inside of it as well. It was baked to perfection. So that's today's recipes guide. I made Chana Pilau and Victoria sponge, and also I thought I would show you a clip of the macaroni cheese that I made. If you have a wee look at that, guys, let me know what you think. If you want the full recipe for this, I can definitely create that for you. And please don't forget to like, share, comment and subscribe.
Like, share, comment